And so the energies of Narayani are coming. This is the goddess from the Hindu tradition who holds energies of strength and protection, also known as Durga, and wisdom, known as Saraswati, and abundance, known as Lakshmi. And when these energies are combined, we have the energy of Narayani. So as we receive the frequency of that energy, it comes into our own energy field. And in the same way as, imagine that you have a cup of water and it's plain water, and then you drop into that water a drop of, say, a red dye, a red coloring, and then the color infuses through the water. And so in the same way, when we connect with frequencies of energy that might be beyond what our own energy field is, then that frequency uplifts our energy. So imagine it's like musical notes. And if you know the research, if a guitar is at one end of the room and you strum, say, the E string, then the guitar at the other end of the room, which is not being touched, will resonate. And so that same note will play on that guitar because the frequency of the sound is going through the airwaves being transmitted and is showing itself by its revelation, if you like, inside or on that guitar. And so it is with us that when we go to places that are of a high frequency, then the frequency of that energy uplifts our own energy field. And so I, many years ago, was a lawyer. However, I've been lucky enough to travel to India to a sacred temple which houses the energy of Narayani. And so that sacred temple has been constructed out of sacred geometry, and it is like a battery. And so that beautiful temple calls forth divine frequencies of energy, and it is magnified inside the temples, and it is held inside different statues, and they're called murtis. They're enlivened statues, and the energy is held in those. And when you walk into the temple, then your energy field automatically receives the vibration as if you are the guitar and the murti is the other guitar strumming a note. But that note is a very beautiful frequency of love and compassion and healing. And so simply by our presence in those temples, that frequency is uplifting and moving through the physical body, into the cells of the body, all the water in our body, which is able to conduct these frequencies. And so this is what happens when we go to this sacred temple, which is called Sripuram, Sripuram. And it is a temple that the external part of the main part of the temple is in gold. So gold itself is a frequency and holds a vibration different from silver or copper or other metals. They all hold their own vibration. And so the temple is inviting us to be present inside it tonight. And so we will just do a little visualization of being taken to that beautiful temple. And so imagine that wherever you are, in your body, in your home, that you can simply melt into the airwaves and be carried as if on a magical carpet across to this beautiful part of India. And in this South Indian area where this temple rests, it is quite large and intricately carved with lots of different designs on it. And the path around the temple is in the shape of a star. And so that star path is again a geometry that allows you to walk around to the different parts of the temple. Each one has a different energy. And so as we imagine ourselves now walking and landing on this beautiful path, you'll feel the warmth of the paving beneath your feet, because as in many temples, you will have left your shoes at the entrance. And imagine now you find yourself inside this beautiful temple path. And as you look around, you feel the warmth of the air of the Indian evening. And at the same time, there is a breeze that is creating the most perfect temperature. And as you start to walk on the path, you look to each side and notice beautiful trees and flowers and green grass, realizing that there is a lot of space around the temple, a beautiful garden, acres of lawn, no other buildings to be seen, and beautiful mountains in the background, small mountains like hills covered in trees. And as you walk, you come first to the temple that holds the frequency and the energy of Ganesha, which is another deity or frequency in the Hindu tradition. Ganesha is a figure with the body of a man and the head of an elephant. And this symbolizes the wisdom of the elephant, is symbolizing divine wisdom coming forth into human form. And so Ganesha gives us the frequency of calming our minds and finding wisdom in our day-to-day lives. And so it is very common to use mantras and sacred sounds that belong to the tradition of Ganesha in order to bring that energy into your system and allow it to travel through and to heal and uplift and move energy. And so there are many different mantras or chants to Ganesha. One of the most popular ones is using the seed sounds of Ganesha, which is Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. And so as I repeat these sounds, allowing them just to come through the body and through the energy field and bring forth that frequency through the sound. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. 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 Breathing into the body and then breathing out, releasing and relaxing, let it go through the body. Breathe out the back of the body, letting go, allowing the energy to move through. If the mind has been busy, imagine the sounds going through the mind and letting the mind know it doesn't have to think, it can relax. And as we continue our walk around the temple now, we move around the pathway, feeling the breeze and starting to see the colorful saris and clothing of the Indian devotees who are walking around the path. Imagine that you are there watching them in their excitement to be visiting their temple and their excitement to be visiting the divine goddess Lakshmi, who represents abundance in all forms. And Lakshmi, Lakshanas, comes from the Lakshanas, which are the perfection of everything in its right place, and abundance and overflowing of all that is needed. And so imagine now that you're seeing these people as they're walking along, often looking very excited. Families and children, colourful saris, everyone in their best clothing because they're coming into divine presence in the temple. And as we start to get closer, we walk into the pathway in front of Lakshmi, who is made of a black stone to absorb the energies. And again, like a battery, she absorbs and sends out back to you the frequency of abundance. And underneath the statues is a device called a yantra, which is either a copper or gold or silver metal plate with particular lines drawn on it, and they hold the frequency of the mantras. And so inside the temples there are Vedic priests who conduct the ceremonies every day, and these ceremonies are done to hold the frequency and the vibration and the energy so that the feeling is peace. And if we were to hear the sounds of Lakshmi, there are many. There is a prayer to Lakshmi that's called the Sri Suktam. Hiranyavarnam harinim suvannarajatasrajam chandram hiranmayim lakshmim jatavedo ma'ava Tamavaha jatavedo Lakshmi manapagamini yasyam hiranyam vindeyam kamashvam purushanaham. The words, which are Sanskrit, are giving love and devotion to Lakshmi, noticing that she is made of gold and describing her attributes. And so these sounds and the frequencies are chanted inside the temples. And even sometimes there are more simple sounds. Shreem, Om Shreem Mahalakshmi Namaha. Om Shreem Mahalakshmi Namaha. Om Shreem Mahalakshmi Namaha. And imagine you can breathe in the abundance and the blessings of Lakshmi and let them go through the body into all of the cells and sending them out to any part of your life where there needs to be an adjustment, where perhaps things need to be more abundant, there may be something that you're needing that's not quite present in your life at the moment. So imagine that Lakshmi is pouring gold coins into your wallet, into your bank account, and she can also be pouring blessings for great relationships or beautiful food or travel or anything that you might be desiring in your life. Lakshmi is the abundance that brings forth everything that you need. There are different forms of Lakshmi. Some are for the family, some are for money, and they're all part of this one beautiful goddess energy, which of course is already inside us, but sometimes when we go to a higher state or a more concentrated state, it helps us to wake up that same frequency of Lakshmi within us. So breathing that in. And starting to feel the peace coming through all of the body. As we leave that part of the temple now, imagine yourself walking down some stairs back onto the path that's in the shape of a star. And as you walk around the next part of the path, noticing there's little shops where people are selling incense. There's beautiful fragrances filling the air, spiritual books, and sacred objects and statues and lamps and plates and all the different things that are used in the ceremonies. Calendars and books and pictures. And as we're walking back down the path, we come to another area in the temple where there is a sacred blessed yantra, which is a copper plate with lines on it, and it has been blessed or uplifted and infused with a high frequency of energy. And so we walk over and you're able to put your hand on to touch the yantra. And as you do that and you close your eyes and you repeat the mantra, you repeat the sounds, Om Durga Devi Sharanam. It's a protective mantra. You don't need to really remember that. Just imagine that your hand is on the yantra and you're making the correct sounds. And as you do, you feel the emanation of the energy through the palm of your right hand. So we always put the right hand on the sacred objects, and that's the tradition. You feel the energy enter through the palm chakra as the energy center in your hand, and it goes up to join into your heart. And from there flows out into all of the cells of your body. And the energies of Durga, which are for protection, are reminding us that in the world at this time in our evolution, having strength and courage is important to make decisions that are the most kind and compassionate and the best decisions. And so, if in doubt, one can ask, what would kindness do? What would be the kind action, whether that is kindness to yourself or another person? What would be the kind thing to do here? And Durga gives us the strength. Sometimes it's kind to say no to somebody, to tell them that their behavior is not acceptable. And sometimes it is kind to put in a boundary. Sometimes it's kind to be compassionate to someone. If there's any situation in your life that you're wondering what action to take, this is a good moment to ask Durga for the strength to make the highest and best decision that is the kindest one for all. You can ask Lakshmi for the resources that you might need. And then Saraswati brings the wisdom. It's just another form of the divine in that tradition. In other traditions, there will be other names, but these are simply qualities, characteristics that are already within us. We already have wisdom, we have kindness, we have strength, we have courage, and this helps to turn the volume up. And as we move away now from the yantra where your hand was being placed, we start to walk back around to another separate temple that is still inside this path that's shaped like a star. And this is a temple to a part of the different types of gods and goddesses called Vishnu or Srinivasa. This is the part that is maintaining our ability to help and be of service in the world. So as we walk inside this temple, you find it's very cool. You feel coolness beneath your feet. And again, you notice the people who are sometimes inside this temple, they're calling out, Govinda, Govinda. They get very excited and they're calling out the names of the divine. And imagine yourself walking through and seeing this very, very tall statue, again made of black stone to absorb the vibrations, and dressed in beautiful flowers and silk cloth with jewelry. And again, there are priests in there who are doing the mantras and using the flame to show their devotion and to hold the vibration inside the temple. And as we walk through, again, the body is receiving the energy. So just trusting that your body is receiving everything that it needs. And then walking back to the front, out the front of that temple and back to the very beginning of the star path. And as you walk down, noticing that there are shops and people, walking back to the entrance to the temple where you will start to dissolve back into returning to your own home. So imagine that you are able to just simply melt like water and return all the way back across from India, all the way back here to your home, coming down inside your body. And then feeling yourself sitting or lying, however you are located inside your own home at this moment. And letting yourself land inside your body. Breathing down through the feet and deep into the earth. And imagine your body can receive all the beautiful energy from this journey. So when you visit a place of very strong, loving, peaceful energy that works through all the cells of the body, uplifting, releasing stress, healing, and breathing down through the earth. The beautiful temple where we visited is where I take spiritual retreats and pilgrimages. And so it is a place where when you visit, everything changes. The soul is deeply connected. You feel very deeply connected to your soul and your heart. A lot of healing takes place. A lot of intuitive knowing and insight happens. Answers to questions often come. So just breathing down through the earth. And imagine just like a tree, you're putting your roots down into the earth, that your breath is like the roots of a tree going down into the earth below you. And imagine that energy and the breath is coming from the navel area of the body, and it's running down through the legs and going deep, deep, deep into the earth. And just breathing deep into the earth, and then starting to gently move the body, fingers and the toes, shoulders, move your head a little bit. It's good to drink water after having a meditation journey. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes if you haven't already. If anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to share, feel free. And I think maybe for those of you who don't know me, if you'd seen me 30 years ago, I was a stressed out lawyer and I was looking for spiritual experiences. I'd always had an interest in meditation and yoga, and I was practicing those things. And I was lucky enough to meet Indian saints and gurus in my 20s. And then later on, if you'd seen me 20 years ago, I discovered laughter yoga, and I was running laughter clubs, teaching meditation and spiritual work, and had paused being a lawyer, having also trained in counseling and mediation and working in the area of family law as well. And then 10 years ago, I was also running retreats in India at this sacred temple where we visited tonight. And I've found that in this time, that when we're busy in our lives, and especially for professionals, it can be a little tricky sometimes for people to make space and time for spiritual practices. And so I have, dedicated my time to providing resources and trips to India and ways that people can actually start to bring some of that sacred energy into everyday life so that they can bring healing and transformation. But mostly it's about finding that inner peace and connection with the self. And so these classes, and also individual healings and channeling that I give for people, as well as the retreats and other classes, the information's on my website, which is laughterlawyer.com.au, because I used to be a lawyer and I started doing laughter yoga. And so all of that is available. If there's anything I can do to help them, please let me know. And the next retreat to India, April 2026, I'm taking a group to this beautiful temple that we've just visited tonight. So if you'd like to know more about that, there is a page on my website, and it has all the arrangements and the costs and everything there. So thank you and welcome, and thank you for joining that Chamundai channel, and I will see everyone again very soon. Bye bye.